Hello everybody, it's Mel. Thank you for joining me today as I predict the winners of the Goodreads Choice Awards. So we have come to the end of 2025, which means that it is Goodreads Choice Awards time. And what I've decided to do this year is something I've not done before. I usually don't bother doing anything to do with Goodreads, but I've decided that this year I'm going to jump in on all of the chatter and I'm going to make a predictions video. You'll all have known by now that the Goodreads nominations have come out, the first round. I did not make a predictions video for what would be on it or a reaction video, so I thought that I would do this one. I have already watched several different reaction videos, I've already voted, but yeah, I thought that I would do a prediction for who would win each category. There are some give-me's, obviously, like Stephen King. If he is ever in anywhere, he usually wins, but there are some who, you know, it's a bit of contention. I will probably express a few opinions as we go through. Please know that these are my opinions and they certainly are not supposed to be making any comments about you or how you do things or anything about you at all. It's all about me and what I think. So I've got my laptop right here. That's why I'm in a slightly different position. I've got at the bench, got my laptop just here. So I'm going to bring up Goodreads. You'll be able to see who I voted for, but I'm sure you don't care. Bring up Goodreads and I will screen record. Screen recording. Okay, so let's start in fantasy because I feel like I probably know the most about that. Okay, so you can see what I voted for. So we have Hemlock and Silver by T. Kingfisher. I've not read a lot of these. A Resistance of Witches by Morgan Ryan. The Incandescent by Emily Tesh. Watermoon by Samantha Soto Yambayo. King Sorrow by Joe Hill. Wind and Truth by Brandon Sanderson. Alchemy of Secrets by Stephanie Garber. The Devils by Joe Abercrombie. Brigands of Breadknives by Travis Baldry. Drop of Corruption by Robert Jackson Bennett. Burial Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. The Strength of the Few by James Islington. The Society of Unknowable Objects by Gareth Brown. The River Has Roots by Amal El Motar. The Raven Scholar by Antonia Hodgson. The Everlasting by Alex E. Harrow. Thief of Night by Holly Black. Red City by Marie Lu. Calabasas by R.F. Kwong. And The Sirens by Amelia Hart. Okay, so as you can probably see, I have only read 2 of these. I feel like Brandon Sanderson's obviously going to be a strong contender because it's Brandon Sanderson. But this is the 5th or 6th book in the Stormlight Archive, so it's going to have quite a drop-off. So let's have a look and see how many ratings it has. 120,177 ratings. Okay, not as much of a drop-off as I would have thought. Well, let's have a look at the one that I voted for, Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. 117,517 ratings, so it's pretty close. Calabasas, how many has that got? 72,000, that's quite a drop in ratings. Brigands and Breadknives came out very recently, so I'd be surprised. 2,000. So yeah, not many ratings really, but it only came out recently, so it's actually a lot for how recently it came out. Realistically, I think it's going to be Brandon Sanderson, but I think Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil is a very strong contender. As like I said, it's the one I voted for. Calabasas is a very strong contender. The Devils is a fairly strong contender. The Strength of the Few, how many ratings does that have? Because I think that's a pretty strong contender. 1,800 ratings, mind you, when did it come out? 11th of November, yes, so that's quite a few ratings for having come out quite recently. The Raven Scholar is doing pretty well. And I feel like Joe Abercrombie has, you know, is within good standing as well. But I think it's probably going to be Brandon Sanderson just because, you know, he's Brandon Sanderson. I'm going to hedge my bets. I'm going to say most likely Brandon Sanderson. Wind and Truth? Yes. With a high likelihood of Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil potentially beating him. All right, let's go back and look at Romantasy. I don't know anything about any of these. I've not read any of them. But just for fun. Alright, so what have we got? Bonds of Hercules by Jasmine Mass. The Wrath of the Fallen by Amber V. Nicole. The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig, The Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy by Bridget Knightley, Diabound by Sable Sorensen, Immortal by Su Lin Tan, Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales by Heather Fawcett, Alchemized by Sen Lin Yu, Mate by Ali Hazelwood, Accomplice to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Mero, Wild Reverence by Rebecca Ross, The Songbird and the Heart of Stone by Carissa Broadbent, Silver Elite by Danny Francis, On Wings of Blood by Briar Bolin, Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yaros, Rose in Chains by Julie Soto, Vicious Oaths by N.E. Davenport, Enchantra by Kaylee Smith, A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping by Sangu Mandana, or Shield of Sparrows by Devney Perry. So The Night and the Moth has been getting really, on here on BookTube anyway, it's doing really well. Alchemized is going gangbusters at the moment. Mate is Ali Hazelwood, so need we say more? And Onyx Storm is obviously doing very well. Everyone loves that series. I'm going to say Onyx Storm is the one that I think is likely to win, but I think it's going to be tricky. It's going to be up against some heavy competition with Mate and Alchemized. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. We'll go back to romance. Right, Wildside by Elsie Silver, The Gingerbread Bakery by Laurie Gilmore, Can't Get Enough by Kennedy Ryan, One Golden Summer by Carly Fortune, Big Bow or Steel by Sarah Adams, The Favourites by Lane Fargo, Scythe and Sparrow by Bryn Weaver, Kick and Benby by Anna Huang, Problematic Summer Romance by Ali Hazelwood, Tourist Season by Bryn Weaver, Story of My Life by Lucy Score, Spiral by Bal Cabra, Say You'll Remember Me by Emma Jimenez, Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry, Till Summer Do Us Park by Megan Quinn, If It Makes You Happy by Julie Olivia, Rewind and It Back by Liz Tomford, Love Arranged by Lauren Asher, First Time Caller by B.K. Borison, and Deep End by Ali Hazelwood. I don't know how I feel about two different authors having two different books in the same, like, there are so many other books around, you know? But anyway, I mean, I think a lot of these, B.K. Borison's doing really well. If It Makes You Happy, I've seen really good buzz about. Anna Huang is always quite popular. I've heard really great things about Kennedy Ryan. The Gingerbread, Laurie Gilmore's series is going really well. Elsie Silver's always a favourite. But honestly, I think it's going to either be Ali Hazelwood, Abby Jimenez, or Emily Henry. I feel like Emily Henry has the biggest appeal broadly. I think Ali Hazelwood and Abby Jimenez are very popular on BookTube and BookTok, as is Emily Henry. But I feel like Emily Henry is probably going to have a broader appeal for non-BookTok and BookTube and Book2Net people. So I'm going to say Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry is going to win that one. Okay, let's go to a mystery and thriller. We're going kind of backwards. Don't Let Him In by Lisa Jewell, King of Ashes by S.A. Cosby, Forget Me Not by Stacey Willingham, The Perfect Divorce by Geneva Rose, Gone Before Your Goodbye by Reese Witherspoon and Harlan Coben. I was going to say by Reese Witherspoon, but by Reese Witherspoon and Harlan Coben kind of makes sense. The Crash by Freda McFadden, The Ghostwriter by Julie Clark, Not Quite Dead Yet by Holly Jackson, We Are All Guilty Here by Karen Slaughter, Famous Last Words by Gillian McAllister, The Impossible Fortune by Richard Osman, The Intruder by Freda McFadden, The Widow by John Grisham, The Missing Half by Ashley Flowers, Heartwood by Emily Grace, You Killed Me First by John Mars, The Secret of Secrets by Dan Brown, Beautiful Ugly by Alice Feeney, The Tenant by Freda McFadden, and Vera Wong's Guide to Snooping on a Dead Man by Jessie Q. Satanto. This one's a bit trickier. Again, don't know how I feel about people having more than one entry, but that's neither here nor there. Look, I think it's probably going to be Freda McFadden, but I don't know which one. But they're going to, but then John Grisham and Dan Brown have both got really, like, outside of the Book2Net sphere, really popular and old, like, they've been around for a long time. Let's see how many ratings they have. So, The Widow by John Grisham has 17,750 ratings. And Dan Brown has 58,000 ratings. Let's look at Freda McFadden. 500,000 ratings. Good grief. Okay. How about Lisa Jewell? 123,000 ratings. What's the other Freda McFadden? 147. You know what? Based just on how many people have given it ratings, I'm going to say The Tenant. The ratings have gone down. That's weird. Okay, but I'm going to say The Tenant by Frida McFadden is going to win mystery and thriller. That's my date. That's my vote. All right, let's look at historical fiction. I haven't read any historical fiction this year at all. All right, Good Dirt by Charmaine Wilkerson, The Secret Book Society by Madeline Martin, Buckeye by Patrick Ryan, Isola by Allegra Goodman, Amity by Nathan Harris, The Stolen Life of Colette Marcoux by Kristen Harmel, The Amalfi Curse by Sarah Penner, Broken Country by Claire Leslie Hall, The Bright Years by Sarah Demoff, The Book Club for Troublesome Women by Marie Bostwick, Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid, The Hounding by Zenobi Purvis, The Stolen Queen by Fiona Davis, The Lost Story of Eva Fuentes by Chanel Clayton, Homeseeking by Carissa Shen, Strangers in Time by David Baldacci, I think, Junie by Erin Crosby Eckstein, The First Witch of Boston by Andrea Catalano, The Lilac People by Milo Todd, and What Kind of Paradise by Janelle Brown. I feel like David Baldacci, or however you say that name, is a fairly popular among the historical fiction readers. 636,000 ratings. Okay, that's pretty good. Let's have a look at Taylor Jenkins Reid. I mean, I feel like it's a given, isn't it? 478,000. Yeah, look, it's going to be Atmosphere, isn't it? Taylor Jenkins Reid is incredibly popular. She does really well. I think she's won quite a few. We're going to say Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. All right, let's look at fiction now. Okay, again, I don't think I've read any of these. I've heard of some, but I haven't heard of a lot of them. Dream Count by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. I am so sorry. I've heard that pronounced before as well. I'm so sorry. The Girls Who Grew Big by Layla Motley. The Three Lives of Kate Kay by Kate Fagan. The Academy by Ellen Hildebrand. What We Can Know by Ian McEwan. The Loneliness of Sonia and Sunny by Kieran Desai. The Names by Florence Knapp. These Summer Storms by Sarah McLean. Life and Death and Giants by Ron Rindo. Wild Duck Shore by Charlotte McConaughey. 3 Days in June by Ann Tyler. My Friends by Frederick Buckman. A Guardian and a Thief by Megha Majumdar. The Emperor of Gladness by Ocean Wong. The Correspondent by Virginia Evans. People Like Us by Jason Mott. Heart the Lover by Lily King. We All Live Here by Jojo Moyes. Cursed Daughters by Ayankan Braithwaite. And The River is Waiting by Wally Lamb. Jojo Moyes, I feel like, is pretty broadly popular. 88,000 and something ratings, so that's got a pretty good rating. I've heard a lot of conversation about, Wild Duck Shore has 210,000 ratings. I'm just looking at ratings and not how well they're doing in ratings, so I mean, I could be very off, but Frederick Buckman, I think, always does pretty well. 237,000. Ian McEwan always does pretty well. 6,000, is that all? Well, there you go. Some of these look really cool. I really want to read some of them. I'm going to say it's probably going to be Frederick Buckman, My Friends, because I feel like he's the most wildly popular as an author, and people will vote for authors they know even if they've not read the book. But I think it's got strong competition with Wild Duck Shore based on how many people have voted for that or have rated that. 413 for, I think it's going to be My Friends or The Friends, but it's going to be in stiff competition with Wild Duck Shore. Let's look at science fiction, even though I know almost nothing about science fiction. Hamajang Luck by Makana Yamamoto. I think we've been here before by Susie Krauss. The Once and Future Me by Melissa Pace. Death of the Author by Nydia Corafor. Shroud by Adrian Tchaikovsky. The Dream Hotel by Layla Lalami. Luminous by Sylvia Park. Dissolution by Nicholas Binge. The Shattering Peace by John Scalzi. The Poppy Fields by Nikki Ehrlich. When the Moon Hits Your Eye by John Scalzi. Again, I don't know how I feel about authors having... Anyway, it's not important. The Compound by Aisling Roll. The Memory Collectors by Deet Meserve. Local Heavens by K.M. Fajardo. I am so sorry. These Memories Do Not Belong to Us by Yiming Ma. The Merge by Grace Walker. Of Monsters and Mainframes by someone who I can't see, Barbara True Love. Salt Crop by Yumi Kitasai. Automatic Noodle by Annalie Newitz, and The Book of Lost Hours by Hayley Gelfuso. Again, based on known authors. Nadia Okorafor, within the space I'm in, is very well known, but I don't know about outside of booktube. Adrian Tchaikovsky, I think, is a very well-known name, as is John Scalzi. I think it's going to be Adrian Tchaikovsky. I think it's going to be Shroud. That's my guess. That's my prediction. All right, horror. Again, I know nothing about horror, but let's have a look. Coven Moon by Keith Rosson. Immaculate Conception by Ling Ling Huang. What Hunger by Catherine Dang. How Bad Things Can Get by Darcy Coates. Bat Eater and Other Names for Cora Zeng by Kylie Lee Baker. Never Flinch by Stephen King. Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix. You Weren't Meant to Be Human by Andrew Joseph White. The Haunting of Payne's Hollow by Kelly Armstrong. Play Nice by Rachel Harrison. The Lamb by Lucy Rose. Lucky Day by Chuck Tingle. Breathe In, Bleed Out by Brian Macaulay. Buffalo Hunter Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones. Hungerstone by Kat Dunn. The Bewitching by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. Blood on Her Tongue by Joanna Van Veen. When the Wolf Comes Home by Nat Cassidy. The Possession of Albert Diaz by Isabel Cañas. And We Love You Bunny by Mona Awad. Now, I've heard pretty good things about most of the books in this list. I haven't read any of them, but I've heard pretty good things about most of them. I mean, I feel like Stephen King is a gimme. It's going to be King. If he wasn't in this list, I think Darcy Coates would have a pretty good shot. Grady Hendrix would have a pretty good shot. Rachel Harrison, like there's a lot. Chuck Tingle, Isabel Cañas, Sylvia Moreno Garcia. Like there's a lot of authors in here that are really, really well known. Stephen Graham Jones, and people just really, really enjoy their work. But I think it's going to be Stephen King because it's Stephen King. Alright, debut novel. This one could be interesting. Alright, Junie by Erin Crosby Eckstein. Dominion by Addie Kitchens. The Correspondent by Virginia Evans. The Bright Years by Sarah Damoth. Alchemized by Sen Lin Yu. Aftertaste by Daria Lavelle. A Family Matter by Claire Lynch. A Resistance of Witches by Morgan Ryan. Loved One by Aisha Muhara. The Lilac People by Miley Todd. The Original Daughter by Jemima Way. Homeseeking by Carissa Shen. The Witch's Orchid by Archer Sullivan. Finding Grace by Loretta Rothschild. The Irish Goodbye by Heather Amy O'Neill. The Eights by Joanna Miller. The Names by Florence Knapp. When the Tides Held the Moon by Vanessa Vita Kelly. Mood Working by Emily St. James. And The Merge by Grace Walker. I don't know. I mean, the point is that their debut, isn't it? So you can't sort of bet on like it'll be Stephen King. With all the hype I'm hearing, I think it's going to be Alchemized by San Lin Yu. Now, I've heard very mixed things. I've heard some people love it, some people hate it. Sorry if the angle's changed, but yeah, as I was saying, some people love it, some people hate it, but I've heard a lot about it, so I'm going to say Alchemized by San Lin Yu. Also, the baby might wake up at any moment, so... And that was a cat. Okay, audiobook. Now, I don't know how I feel about audiobook being in here, because, like, Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid, The Devils by Joe Abercrombie, Alchemized by Sen Lin Yu, My Friends, Got a Big Beautiful Life. Like, a lot of these are in other categories, but also like Harry Potter and Pride and Prejudice. Like, what are they doing in there? They were not published this year, but a new edition's come out. And also, like, these are like, I have no problem with people reading books, however they read books, however they consume books, that's fine. But like, when you're voting for them as audiobooks, what are you voting for them as? How are you making the distinction? I enjoyed this audiobook because I enjoyed the narrator. Wasn't that about the narrator and not the... I mean, I guess it's about the book, obviously, but like, I just don't understand this category. So I'm actually going to skip it because honestly, I just don't get it, and just going to skip it. So, favourite young adult fantasy and sci-fi, so that's all together. The House of Fear by Marissa Meyer. Both bound by, I do know who that author is, but I've momentarily forgotten. Tracy Dion, that's who it is. I don't think it says there. Anyway, that's not the point. A Forgery of Fate by Elizabeth Lim. The Otherware Post by Emily J. Taylor. Hecate by Nikita Gill. Breath of the Dragon by Shannon Leon Fonderly. Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. Every Spiral of Fate by Tahira Murphy. Rebel Witch by Kristen Cicerelli. Never Ever After by Su Lin Tan. Wings of Starlight by Alison Saft. Our Infinite Fates by Laura Stephen. Fearless by Lauren Roberts. Hazelthorn by C.G. Drews. A Language of Dragons by S.F. Williamson. Watch Me by Tahira Murphy. Immortal Consequences by L.V. Marie. The Rose Bargain by Sasha Payton Smith. Heavenly Tyrant by Ziran J. Zhao. And The Floating World by someone. Can't tell. That's the baby, so I'm going to go and hopefully I'll pick it up again at some point today. Hello again. It is several hours later. Baby and I have been out. We've come home, obviously, and let's continue. So I need to screen record again. Alright, so I believe I was going through young adult sci-fi and fantasy. I'm going to say it's got to be Sunrise on the Reaping. I've heard so many people talk about it this year. The original trilogy is super popular, and again, I think it has popularity outside of booktube and book2net. So I'm going to say for Sunrise, it'll be Sunrise on the Reaping. Yeah, young adult fiction. Okay. Nobody in Particular by Sophie Gonzalez. I Am Not Jessica Chen by Anne Liang. Audrey and Bash Are Just Friends by Tia Williams. Under the Same Stars by Libba Bray. You Found Oliver by Dustin and Theo. The Survivor Wants to Die at the End by Adam Silvera. Fake Skating by Lynn Painter. Sisters in the Wind by Angeline Booley. Dating and Dragons by Christy Boyce. First Time for Everything by Key L. Wather. Glorious Rivals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. The Scammer by Tiffany D. Jackson. Falling Like Leaves by Misty Wilson. Needy Little Things by Chanel. I cannot read that. Wish You Were Here by Elle McNichol. Say a Little Prayer by Jenna Voris. We Fell Apart by E. Lockhart. The Thrashers by Julie Soto. And They Were Roommates by Paige Powers. Or When Devils Sing by Zan Akur. I have no idea. I haven't heard really anything about any of these. Wouldn't have a clue. I'm going to say it's probably going to be between Libba Bray and Adam Silvera, but I really am not sure. Interesting. Really don't know. Haven't heard any buzz really about any of them. Alright, let's move on to non-fiction, which I know even less about. Okay, so Everything is Tuberculosis by John Green. The Serviceberry by Robin Wall Kimmerer. Abundance by Ezra Klein and Derek Thompson. Murderland by Caroline Fraser. Crime and Bloodlust in the Time of Serial Killers. Interesting. The Tragedy of True Crime by John J. Lennon. The Book of Alchemy by Sulika Jacquard. Girl on Girl by Sophie Gilbert. The New Age of Sexism by Laura Bates. One Day Everyone Will Have Always Been Against This by Omar. I'm not sure, can't read that either. Yes, I need to get my eyes checked. You Didn't Hear This From Me by Kelsey McKinney. Oh, yes, I really, really want to read that. Is a River Alive by Robert McFarlane. Replaceable You by Mary Roach. The Idaho 4 by James Patterson and Vicky Ward. The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. Are You Mad at Me by Meg Joseph LCSW. And Shitification by Cory Doctorow. No More Tears by Gardner Harris. The Fort Bragg Cartel by Seth Harp. Black in Blues by Imani Perry. And The 5 Types of Wealth by Cecile Bloom. Now, I really want to read You Didn't Hear This From Me by Kelsey McKinney because I listen to Kelsey McKinney's podcast, which is Normal Gossip, which is really, really cool. It's really fun and I would recommend. And I've been hearing about this book and I really want to read it. But I don't think I think it's going to be John Green. I think John Green has the name recognition. Although, having said that, people do like a true crime type of book, so Murderland might beat it. But I think probably either of those two, but I do think John Green will probably take it in the end because, you know, he's quite a well-known author, plus with the Vlogbrothers and everything. Alright, so memoir. I know even less about memoir. Mother Mary Comes to Be My by Arundhati Roy. Finding My Way by Malala Yousafzai. 107 Days by Kamala Harris. Awake by Jen Hatmaker. Vagabond by Tim Curry. Joyride by Susan Orlean. Careless People by Sarah Wynne Williams. Matriarch by Tina Knowles. Big Dumb Eyes by Nate Bargates. Things in Nature by Merely Grow. Things in Nature Merely Grow by Yuan Liu. Cher the Memoir. Nobody's Girl by Virginia Roberts Agufrey. My Next Breath by Jeremy Renner. Paper Girl by Beth Macy. The Tell by Amy Griffin. Memorial Days by Geraldine Brooks. Raising Hair by Chloe Dalton. Semi-Well Adjusted by Alison Stoner. The House of My Mother by Shari Frank. And All the Way to the River by Elizabeth Gilbert. Okay, interesting. Malala Yousafzai is an interesting person. Tim Curry is very interesting and quite popular. Cher is obviously interesting and quite popular. Jeremy Renner. Elizabeth Gilbert is quite popular as well. I'm going to say Elizabeth Gilbert because she's written other of this type before and she's quite popular for that book. That's my guess, but I feel like I'm probably, don't know about this one. Okay, History and Biography. Again, know nothing about, but let's see what we've got. Dark Renaissance by Stephen Greenblatt. Baldwin, which is not written by Baldwin. How to Kill a Witch. Zoe Vendittosi and Claire Mitchell. Propaganda Girls by Lisa Rogak. A Flower Travelled in My Blood by Hayley Cohen Gilliland. The Cure for Women by Lydia Reader. Sisters in Science by Olivia Campbell. Original Sins by Eve L. Ewing. Lawn by Susan Morrison. A Marriage at Sea by Sophie Elmhurst. Jane Austen's Bookshelf by Rebecca Romney. The Zorg by Siddhartha Kara. The Devil Reached Toward the Sky by Garrett M. Graff. The JFK Conspiracy by Brad Meltzer. King of Kings by Scott Anderson. Realm of Ice and Sky by Buddy Levy. Mark Twain by Ron Chanel. We the People by Jill Lepore. 1929 by Andrew Ross Sorkin. And The Fate of the Day by Rick Atkinson. And I honestly don't know about this either. I really have no idea. I'm actually not going to pick anything because I honestly couldn't tell you. But that's it. That's the entire list. The entire Goodreads Choice Awards nominees. And that is my predictions. So yeah. Let me know what your predictions are. Let me know what you think of my predictions. Any other comments you want to make, let me know that as well. Any other thoughts that you'd like to share with me, please do so in the comments below. If you'd like to leave me a comment but you don't know what, then leave me some kind of book emoji because we're talking about Goodreads and books and all the rest of it. So yeah, give me a book emoji. But yeah, that's everything from me today. So thank you so much for joining me today. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I would absolutely love it if you would subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up. And yeah, like I said, thank you so much for joining me today. Really hope you enjoyed this video and I will see you next time.